FIFA is a franchise that has solidified its position in the gaming industry as one of the most successful franchises ever. It has been one of EA's best selling games for decades and the golden boy that could never do no wrong, no matter how bad the game actually was. It's a game that made YouTube gaming so big back in the 2010s and gained even more popularity because of YouTubers like KSI, the FIFA player, and many more who were uploading videos covering the game. Football is the biggest sport in the world, with an estimate of 4 billion fans globally, meaning that there is always going to be a large interest in football games, whether that be FIFA or PES. It's a game that many people played religiously when growing up and have fond memories of the franchise.
That was one amazing time.
Whether that was playing wagers on Ultimate Team or simply playing against your mates in kickoff or even pro clubs, they are memories that I'm sure many people out there will always remember. At one stage it felt like FIFA was never going to fall off. There was always going to be this game that everyone looks forward to playing every year, and with better game engines and resources it was only going to get better going forward. So how did EA's biggest cash cow end up getting killed by EA themselves? To better understand FIFA's downfall, I think it's a good idea to first look at what made it so popular in the first place and how it became such a massive cultural game. The first FIFA game came out in 1993 and was actually called FIFA International Soccer. Yes, soccer. Although everyone knows it's actually called football, not soccer, unless you're American of course. USA! USA! From 1993 onwards, a new FIFA game was released each year. Each year the game was improving graphically and gameplay wise and did so with each new console. However, FIFA wasn't the only football game on the market. In 2001 a new football game came out that was a direct competitor to FIFA, Pro Evolution Soccer, a game developed by Konami which was trying to compete with FIFA and actually succeeded at doing so. There were a few differences in both games. The major one was that PES hardly had any licenses, which meant that teams football fans were familiar with were called something else and not their actual names. Arsenal would, for example, be called North London, whereas FIFA had licenses for all the big leagues and international teams, making the experience more authentic and just offering something that players were already familiar with. FIFA's licenses increased throughout the years and they managed to get even more licensed leagues, but even with all of this, PES 2004, 5 and 6 were all better than the FIFA version, and are regarded by many as the best PES games ever made. However, with the release of the PS3, FIFA really started to overtake PES in that race. It felt like Konami just couldn't quite make a great PES game on the new systems like they did back on the older ones. But up to this point, FIFA was made up of 3 major modes, which were your standard kickoff, online and career mode, which I used to pour hours into. But the massive turning point for the franchise and EA was when FIFA 9 released. A FIFA that I believe is one of the best they ever made. Also, how nostalgic is this player arena with AC Milan Ronaldinho? I used to spend a lot of time in here just messing around. Anyway, FIFA 9 was a massive turning point for the game and is what really made FIFA the game and franchise it became. FIFA 9 introduced the all new game mode called FIFA Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team has since become the flagship game mode for the franchise and is the most played game mode in the game. It allows you to create a team with players from any club by either opening packs and getting players that way, or saving up coins after every game played and then buying them on the market. But it's massively evolved from then to now, so let's have a look at how much it has evolved, how it got worse and how EA eventually managed to kill their biggest game mode. Ultimate Team in FIFA 9 wasn't actually available when the game released. It was released as a DLC later on in the life cycle of the game, which players had to pay for. Obviously, it's EA. However, not many people may know this, but Ultimate Team was trialled years earlier by EA. It was actually introduced into their UEFA Champions League 2006/2007 game as an offline game mode which followed the same system of opening packs and building your team. If you played Ultimate Team in FIFA 9, you would get a foot founder tag with your name, which later on became pretty iconic, and if you came up against someone who was a foot founder, you knew you were in for a tough game. FIFA 10 also followed the same route as FIFA 9, but in FIFA 11 the game mode came a lot earlier and was free to play, and the player base exploded. Later on in the life cycle of FIFA 11, the ability to play against friends was also introduced, and so were Team of the Week cards, which were based off real life performances. If a player had a good game on the weekend, he would most likely receive a Team of the Week card. This added to the authenticity and made you more engaged and connected to the game. The following year, in FIFA 12, Team of the Season cards were introduced, which yet again made you more connected to the real world of football, as they were cards awarded to the best players that season. Ultimate Team was developing pretty well, however FIFA 13 and FIFA 14 were crucial for Ultimate Team. In FIFA 13, EA added FIFA points.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Which, as we know, would change the way Ultimate Team operated later on. They also added online seasons. Online seasons were already a thing in FIFA for a few years, but never in Ultimate Team. They allowed players to climb divisions, starting from Division 5 up to Division 1, and added a good mix of casual and competitive gaming. There was a constant urge to try and climb to the highest division possible and win Division 1. In FIFA 14 we went from 5 divisions to 10 divisions, making the grind even harder. For me, FIFA 13 to FIFA 17 were the prime years of FIFA. Between them years, the game was fun, fast-paced and arcadey, but still realistic. Trading was also possible, which meant you could wager your friends for certain players or even players you met online. Trading, however, would later on be removed in FIFA 15. In these games, there wasn't such a huge emphasis on opening packs, as some silver players and gold players were just as good as some players that were 90 rated. I remember in FIFA 14 having a front three of Dumbia, Biabiani and Ibarbo. If you played the game around that time, you know just how sweaty and disgusting that attack is. I was never someone who opened packs or bought coins back then. I was always running a cheap, sweaty team and actually managed to win Division 1 with that front three. There was a bunch of cheap options that were good, but then again, you didn't have to pack 90 rated players to make a lot of coins, as price ranges weren't a thing back then, meaning you could list players on the market for any price you wanted. The player base controlled the market, not EA. Since FIFA 13, when FIFA points were introduced, Ultimate Team has always been paid to win, and EA always wanted players to spend their money on points so they could open packs. Essentially, with FIFA points and packs, EA created a gambling game within a game. It operated just like slot machines. You put money in, open the pack and wait for what you get. However, it wasn't all that bad because majority of people went and bought coins instead, which were a lot cheaper. It meant that you could just go out and buy players instead of trying your luck with packs. But coin providers were the catalyst for the huge changes that were about to happen to Ultimate Team. Later on in FIFA 15's life cycle, which is my personal favourite in the franchise, I actually went and won Division 1 with a full silver Lech Poznan team, which was still possible back then. EA removed the ability to trade players, which meant that you were no longer able to buy coins from coin providers, as that was a way of buying coins. But if that wasn't enough, EA also introduced player price ranges, which meant EA determined how much a player was worth and not the player base. For example, they would give a player like Royce a price range of 40k to 100k, whereas before he might have been worth 150k. By removing the ability to buy coins, EA were now in control of the market, and the only way to open packs was either by having enough coins saved up or by buying FIFA points, which has been the case ever since that changed. Removing trading also removed the ability to wager people for players, which back then was one of my favourite things to do. Being able to shit talk to your friends and putting a player with 200k on the line only to go and get humbled is an experience I'll never forget, and obviously the famous Pink Slips KSI videos. Overall, the removal of trading and price ranges being put in place were major changes that were all leading up to the position the game is currently in. The next big changes came with FIFA 17. FIFA 17 changed the way Ultimate Team is going to be played forever. It went from a more casual, relaxed gaming experience to everyone trying to be the next best player in the world. This was because EA introduced FUT Champions. It was a new game mode in which players competed each week to earn better rewards. It was FIFA's competitive mode and was played on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. In FIFA 17 you actually had to play 40 games over the weekend, which is absolutely absurd. You basically had to no-life the game for the whole weekend in order to get absolute garbage rewards anyway. It created a system in the game and franchise that if you now wanted to be able to compete with other players, you had to no-life 40 games on the weekend just to be able to compete. These modes also got extremely sweaty and even sweatier with each FIFA going forward. It made the game feel extremely boring and a lot of people just gave up on it altogether. The rewards were simply not good enough for the amount of time you put in each week. However, FUT Champions weren't the only new major additions to the franchise in FIFA 17. SBCs were also introduced, which offered a new way of obtaining special player cards and packs. You had to complete squad building challenges, with each one having different requirements to complete them. This was a welcome addition and actually a good new way to get players. You had a decent balance of good budget players and some expensive high-rated players that you could slowly work your way towards. Although this was a good addition, it did also introduce the untradeable players feature, which has only gotten worse over the last two FIFA games. FIFA 15 and FIFA 17 I think are the two major FIFAs that changed FIFA forever, and the changes implemented in them games really shaped FIFA into the mess it is today. So from FIFA 17 to FIFA 22, the game didn't really receive any major changes apart from the amount of games being played on FUT Champs being reduced from 40 games down to 30. Each year the game was somewhat worse too. The gameplay was feeling a lot slower, with each game having a broken game mechanic. EA were opting for the more realistic approach rather than the fun one, which is what made the previous games so much more fun to play. Adding new animations into the game each year somehow made the game worse too, and of course with each year they focused more on monetization and getting people to buy more FIFA points.
It's big for me. Just give me my money. Just give me my money.
More special cards were being put into the game. The rewards in FUT Champs and Rivals still weren't good enough, and people who would win all of their 30 games would a lot of the time pack worse players from their rewards than someone who maybe won 20 games. The system was really unfair and simply broken. The monetization got really bad in FIFA 23. The amount of packs being put into the store was absurd. Whereas before you would only see promo packs on Fridays where a promo event was out, now they were available all week long. And what made it worse was that they heavily increased the prices of these packs. You could now buy packs for 500k, 200k and other prices. But the worst part of it was that a lot of the items in those packs were actually untradeable. So let's say you pack an Inform Mbappe who is worth over 1 mil. You won't be able to sell him and improve your team as a whole. Many people may not see this as a problem, but for me it's another way of EA just controlling the market and stopping players from gaining coins, ultimately making FUT Champs and Rivals being the only other viable option to make coins and improve your team. And even then the rewards still weren't great. Like I said, the system wasn't fair and didn't reward the better players. I know some people may argue that you could easily make coins from sniping and other market methods, however the majority of players don't want to do that. But it couldn't get any worse, could it? Well, the next and newest installment in the franchise, which is called EA FC 24. What a terrible name, by the way. I'm just going to call it FIFA 24. Somehow, it managed to make the game even worse. The gameplay felt slow and worse than ever. Dribbling didn't feel responsive and players just didn't feel right. The gameplay experience was seriously lacking, and of course we had another broken mechanic in the game, which was the Trivela. However, from the first few weeks the store was already being filled with stupid packs. That trend only continued and the game was already available to buy for 50% off a month later, which was never the case before. People hated the game and the approach EA took with how they managed the whole store situation. The game had and still has major issues when it comes to gameplay, yet they do nothing about it, but instead choose to pump new packs into the store weekly. The game has seen a massive drop in players, which I think can be accounted to the way the game is being managed. The major emphasis and focus on pushing more packs into the store and ignoring the glaring problems the game has that ultimately ruin the gameplay experience for a lot of the players. Having so many packs and introducing so many good high rated cards into the game really early on is also what hurt the game. It became oversaturated with good players. Before I sum all of this up, I want to say that I've played FIFA since FIFA 6 and have played every FIFA since, religiously playing it from FIFA 11 to FIFA 18. I still played FIFA 19 and all the newer ones, just not as much as I previously did. And I also know I didn't mention some other things that have been introduced into the franchise, but I missed them out because I don't feel like they added anything to the point I'm trying to make with this video. So to sum it all up, EA had a great football game on their hands, a game enjoyed by millions of people around the world, kids and adults alike, a game that prioritised fun and offered a good amount of authenticity. However, ruined the fun and casual aspect with the introduction of division rivals and FUT champs, and also taking away trading, which then also impacted the transition into the heavy promotion of packs and FIFA points, which made the game more pay to win than ever. Not fixing the gameplay issues, but instead focusing more on promo events to make more money out of people. Now, FIFA and EA isn't the only game to do this, however it can be argued that they were one of the pioneers for the system. NBA 2K is just as bad, if not worse in that regard. FIFA will always hold a special place in my heart with the memories I have over so many years. Playing with my brother in FIFA 6 and constantly losing is what made me fall in love with the game. I was always trying to get better so I could finally beat him. All the memories I have of playing Ultimate Team at FIFA 14 and FIFA 15 with silver players and wagering my friends. All the memories I made playing pro clubs with my friends for hours on end. It's a franchise that I will always love, but that doesn't mean I can't recognise what's happened to it. It's a shame it's no longer the game many of us loved, and maybe it will never be that again. Or maybe we're enslaved by nostalgia and need to learn to appreciate what we have. Personally, I can't see myself playing Ultimate Team as much as I used to, or even playing it ever again, because I simply lost the urge to play it. I do think that EA are to blame, but also the consumers to a certain extent. People keep buying packs and playing these games, which makes EA more money. If EA saw that they weren't making as much money as they had hoped to, maybe things would change. Even though I don't play the game anymore, I still want the people that do play it to have a great fun experience like I did 10 years ago. If you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say that I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.